You're listening to the Natalie Parker Studio Podcast, episode number 9. In today's episode, we're discussing why you need a plan for your creative path. That's coming on up. Welcome to the Natalie Parker Studio Podcast, the podcast for women artists who are ready to pursue their creative dreams so that they can thrive both in life and in business. I'm your host, Natalie Parker, artist and mentor to women creatives around the globe. In this podcast, I'll share with you the strategies, principles, and mindset that you need to build a purposeful and fulfilling creative business. If you're ready to be inspired, encouraged, and equipped to build the art business of your dreams, then you're absolutely in the right place. Let's dive into today's episode. Hey there, artist, and welcome to today's episode. Quick question for you. Do you have a plan for your creative path? Have you taken the time to sit down and map out how you want your creative path to look after a year, after 2 years, after 5, or even after 10 years? Or does the thought of planning make you feel really restricted or even uncomfortable? If so, I want to help you with this today. Now, I personally love to plan. Over the years, I have planned everything, such as my meals, exercise regime, business and house plans, investments, budgets, shopping lists, the list goes on. You get it right? I'm a planner. I need to know where I'm going and how I'm going to get there. When I don't have a plan for my day, I feel out of sorts and even a little bit anxious. Having a plan has allowed me to design my creative path how I want it to go and help me realize so many of my creative dreams. I've seen incredible results from planning. I also keep most of my plans and look back over them often to see if I've made progress. And I'm amazed at how many of my plans, not all, have come into fruition. But you know what? There are also many plans I've made that haven't happened or happened when I wanted them to. Take, for instance, getting married. Now, I planned on getting married in my early 20s, but in fact, I didn't marry until I was 31. Now, looking back, I see that despite the plan taking longer, it was so much better for me to marry in my 30s. In my 20s, I was all over the place, right? I was learning a lot about myself and who I was. So I completed my BFA, I worked in hospo, I even became a business partner in the cafe that I was working in. I set up a loose leaf tea company. I went back to school to study to be an art teacher. I moved back to my hometown after living away from home for 10 years. I bought my first home. I started my teaching career and I started up my art business and selling my art. Now, that's a lot. And had I been married, I don't think I would have taken as many risks. So when I did marry at 31, I knew who I was. I knew what I wanted and I had discovered my purpose in life. So while my plan took longer than expected, it came at the right time. So I want you to remember that when you're planning, that sometimes our plans, we go in little different tangents, but they will happen at the right time. So with that in mind, why therefore is it important for you to have a plan for your creative path? Now, I know you've heard the saying, those who don't plan, plan to fail. And while that can be incredibly harsh, there's an element of truth to it. Now, I know you don't plan on failing. No one does. In fact, we try to avoid failure as much as possible. However, sometimes our actions, or lack thereof, have undesirable consequences. So when we don't take the time to write a plan for our creative path, we put ourselves at risk of not achieving our goals. Now, there are a few reasons you may not want to document a plan for your creative path. One is that you're a creative and you want to be free to create and express yourself when the inspiration rises. You don't want a restrictive plan that boxes you in. It goes against your nature and you fear a plan will simply stifle your creativity. Number 2, you may have tried to set plans in the past and they failed. Therefore, you don't see the point in planning as it leads to disappointment. Number 3, you don't know how to plan or see the benefit of it. And number 4, you don't believe it's possible for you to have a creative path. Therefore, you don't write a plan. So here's what's going to happen. If you follow that myth and believe that planning is not important, when you don't plan, you're going to drift through life, because if you don't have a plan, you don't know which way to go. So every which way is going to take you there. You can't measure your results because you don't know what your plans are. You don't know what your goals are. There's no goal control. And with no goal control, you can't see your progress and you're not going to be motivated and want to keep moving forward. Another thing that can happen when you don't plan is your day can be chaotic. Okay, so you're not sure what to focus on. So you may go in, you might have the bestest of intentions, going into your studio to work on a certain body of work, yet your phone goes off, an email comes through, the kids need something, and you get totally distracted. The other thing is that you can feel anxious, and I feel this a lot. When there's no plan, often what happens, we feel anxious because we don't know what is in our control. We don't know what's to be expected. So if you're feeling that way, having a plan is going to be a great way to minimize your anxiety. Now, I don't want you to feel any of this. I want you to have a fulfilling life and to realize your creative dreams. Having a plan will support you to achieve this. So if that's the case, let's look at what planning actually is. Number 1 is that planning is the highest expression of faith. When you believe that something is going to happen, you plan for it. If you believe you are called to have a creative path, you will plan for it. Sometimes your aversion to planning can simply be because you don't genuinely believe it's possible for you to have a creative life. Number 2, planning is the act of capturing your vision for your creative path and putting it into a roadmap. So when you have a vision for where you want to go with your creative path, with your art career, with your business, when you put together a plan, it shows you the roadmap. It shows you how you're going to get there. Number 3, planning is your responsibility and your blessing. Now, no one is going to come along and plan your creative path for you. No one's going to plan your life for you. Now, I know that we would love it if someone could just come along and give us the plan, but is that really what we want? The fact that you have creative control over your life, over your destiny, over your creative path is in fact your blessing. You get to choose what creative projects you want to focus on. You get to choose how much of your life you're going to commit to your creative path, how much money you want to raise and earn, the creative projects you're going to work on, the people you want to connect with, the style of art you're going to connect with, where you're going to live, what your studio is going to look like. That is all part of planning. And number 4, plans are documented desires. Now, we have a lot of thoughts going around in our head, a lot of our heartfelt desires. Sometimes when we get out a journal and we start to write those things, we start to see those desires come up, and it can be incredibly amazing to do so. We see these amazing things before us. There's something about taking a thought and writing it down on paper that brings it into fruition. So plans are your ability to document your desires. So planning your creative path, it is incredibly powerful, and it has so many benefits. The first benefit is that it's going to help you to know which way to go. Now, I have mentioned this before, but I don't believe in the right and the wrong way. I believe in a good way and a right way. Now, when we have so many things coming to us, as you will, when you start in your creative practice, you're going to have lots of shows, you're going to have lots of people wanting you to do certain artworks. Say, for instance, you might be a floral artist and someone might come along to you and ask you to do a portrait. Like, this is an example of something that I've had. Now, While I could go into my studio and figure out how to do a creative portrait of someone, I would have the skills. It is not really my specialty, and it is not what lights up my boat. Had I not known my purpose, if I not had a plan that I was going to be an abstract floral artist and what I was going to specifically focus on, I could have taken that. So we have so many ideas, so many things coming our way to us. When we have a plan, it shows us which way to go. It stops us going off track. It stops us going and doing things that we know we shouldn't be doing and wasting our time. Number 2 is that planning allows you to measure your results. Okay, so measuring your results and seeing you're making progress, even little by little, is incredibly motivating. When you don't have a plan, you have nothing to match your results against. So a plan can tell you how many hours you need to spend in your studio, or what exhibitions that you're going to focus on this year, or how much of your portfolio you need to get completed before that particular exhibition. So having a plan allows you to measure your results. Number 3 is that it gives you control over your time. Now, there will be many things that fight for your time, and I've done a podcast on time if you want to go and have a look at that, because I know this is a biggie. So when you have a plan that is a captured idea, a captured roadmap of your vision that tells you how your creative path is going to go and how you're going to get there, it shows you what you need to be spending your time on. So rather than spending your time on activities that are not going to take you to your goals. Number 4, it keeps you focused on what matters. And this is a little bit similar to it shows you which way to go. So when you have a plan, you know exactly what you need to be focusing on, whether it be a plan for the year, a plan for a month, or even a plan for your day. You know where your efforts need to be focused, and that is what's going to move you towards achieving your goals. And number 5 is that, yes, it supports you to reach your goals. So anyone can write a goal. Anyone can say, I'm going to have 10 art exhibitions this year. That's cool. So what's your plan on how to get there? How many artworks do you need? How much do you need to order in terms of your art supplies and your canvases? When do you need to get those done by? When do you need to photograph them? When do you need to apply for the show? This is the power of planning to support you to reach your goals. But here's the thing. With all due respect, what happens when your plans fail? Here's the truth. Some of your plans will fail. Now, that does not mean that you failed. Absolutely not. And does it mean that planning is irrelevant? No way. I want you to think of your plan as a roadmap. So you're going on a trip. Imagine this, all right? You imagine a destination you want to go to. So have something in your mind. So say, I don't know, I'm in Melbourne. Say I want to go to Sydney. Okay. Now that you have your plan for how to get there, I can put it in Google Maps. It shows me the road of everywhere I need to go to get to my destination. But say on the way that you're going to your destination, you come across a roadblock. What happens? You take a detour, right? You find an alternative route to take you to your destination. You revise and you alter the plan. But ultimately, your destination, your goal, your vision remains the same. A plan is simply a guide, all right? It just shows you how to get to your destination. It shows you how to achieve your vision for your creative path. It is not rigid, it is not inflexible. So when you're going ahead, planning your creative path, know that plans do change, but ultimately your destination, where you're going, your vision remains the same. Now, if you're looking for support and accountability to help you write a plan for your creative path for 2022, you're in the right place. From Jan the 20th, I'm hosting a free 3-part training series for artists to show them how to get clear on their vision for their creativity, how to plan their goals, and how to write a plan to achieve it. So if you'd love to join, I'll pop a link in the show notes to register for the free training. Well, that is a wrap for today's episode on planning. If you've found this episode beneficial, do me a favor, take a screenshot and share it on IG and tag me in at Natalie Parker Studio. I'd love to connect with you over there. Coming up next week on the show, we're talking about what to do when you have an art show or a launch and nothing sells. Now, I've been there and I know what it feels like. So I'll be sharing my experience with you and my top tips on how to move forward. Until then, keep pursuing your creative dream. Do you dream of having your own art business? Is 2022 going to be the year that you step out, go after your desires, and start to build the art biz you've been dreaming about for years? If you are, but you also have no idea how or where to start, then you're going to love this. On Jan the 20th, I'm kicking off a free training series for artists called the Art Biz Startup Series. In this 3-part training, you'll get clear about what you want for your business, you'll learn multiple ways to make money, and you'll learn my simple 3-step sales system that you can use over and over again to finally get those art sales coming in. So if you're ready to finally do what you love, to be fulfilled in your days, and to have the extra income for you and your family, then you're going to want to register for this free training today. Click the link to register in the show notes below. I can't wait to help you turn your art biz dream into a reality this year.